Thank you so much. Given the bloodbaths that we're seeing in recruitment, we decided that all of us need to be on our toes all the time. And so we're doing the session without any chairs, showing you that we are in the game doing what it takes. Great to see a full house. This panel actually agrees, Samir, that this topic should have taken all day talking about today, given the importance that it has in all of our lives. Right, and before we even get to talking about slaying the talent game across all these different organizations, we have a question for the audience, and y'all are free to contribute to. Which are the role labels of today that deserve to be slayed in the future? Which of these roles will actually exist going forward? Any thoughts, any ideas? Or would you reimagine any of your own labels?
The CEO.
Okay.
CFO.
Chairman, the CEO will always be there.
CFO as well.
All right. Audience, come on.
Please keep guessing.
Chief. How about delivery officer?
All right.
How about security?
Sales? Where's the money coming from?
So this topic is about talent, right? What about HR?
HR?
All right. So clearly paradigms are being revisited. Everything that we know about this world seems like it's set to change. And we've been hearing from morning that in this world, you either need to know how to code, those jobs are safe, or you need to know how to sell. But I think we believe that it's not just knowing how to code or how to sell, right? We also need to know how to expect, how to brief. What is it that we want to be able to take into the world outside? And it's not as easy as just building something and expecting somebody to go and sell it. So before we get into that, I think I have a question for each of you. And expecting and hoping that you all will be vulnerable, share anecdotes, stories. What are each of you doing to reimagine yourselves in today's world, right? What are the changes that you all have, gone through recently? What do you wish you could do differently? Anything, but open your hearts.
Any order?
Sure, thank you. So if I had to reimagine myself, I would take my title out. That's what I'm seeing. In the age of constant disruption, having seen the enterprise-wide adoption of both data and AI and the trends that are coming along with this, I'm already positioning myself as an enabler. So you said CEO, right? I would also see CEOs as a chief enabling officers. Right? I think that's the way we have to start reimagining, because the disruptions are going to cut across the hierarchies and it's going to flatten. As Samir was mentioning this morning, that the Gen AI has actually leveled the playing field. So it's new for all of us. It's a time that we had to get down to the learning curve and start picking up these new skills. And the skill passport is going to play the game. So I would repositioning myself as an enabler and help others in succeeding in this game. I'd like to hear others' viewpoints as well.
Great.
So I would reimagine it like a two-phase or two-part. The first one is the fundamentals or the core values that remain the same. I think if you are, let's say, in a sales, that of course the sales part remains the same. Or for that matter, if you really believe in delivering an impact and a value, that part or that core remains the same. Now, can you complement or support extra things that would, by using AI, Gen AI, or any other technology, to empower this core on that? So I would reimagine that, yes, if I'm here for a value or an impact delivery, then what additional assets, tools, facilitation available for me to leverage to make sure I do this job in a more better way. At the end of the day, everybody looks for an impact, for a value, for a bottom line or a top line impact. So can we use, and all these are some or the other ways to reach there. Can we use a better way? And that is what my push would be. Can I reimagine myself that instead of doing a very traditional way of delivering an impact, can I leverage host of AI, Gen AI, and even any other form of technology? Because it's not just one tech that makes an impact, it's a host of technology coming together that makes an impact, and leveraging all of that to make that impact. I think that would be my reimagined approach towards myself.
Sanjeev has stepped into a reimagined world, so please tell us about that.
It's a very very, very interesting subject, because when I went to Gautam Bhai and was interviewed twice, thrice, he said, do you know why I'm setting up a GCC? What will be the roadmap and the waterfall would look like? And I said, over the years, I did a ballpark number, 300, 400 crores. I said, don't talk about that. Cost is not what I'm doing for. And he said, what do you bring on table? So I said, there are 4 E's. And he said, yeah, I want value and not cost. So you need to think very differently. And I said, what I can bring is excellence through 3 E's. One is efficiency, which is productivity, and of course, effectiveness and experience. And the unique problem with us is that we are not one GCC, we have 600 sites plus a head office and 11 different industries listed and spread across India, from ports to cements to this. So typically you see a GCC is one industry. When you see 11 industries coming to one, it becomes a more challenging parameter. So I think as a leader, if you are thinking that are you relevant and are you creating value, I think that will sustain you. I think the titles doesn't mean anything. It's just the value you create and the whole ecosystem. So I call our GCC as game changer catalyst for the group. I don't call them as global capability centers. So you need to think through that, are you changing the game for the group or the company you work for? And that's what I'm seeing our role really, really changing.
Lovely, reimagining the norms. Phani, you're meeting interesting people all the time.
Going in the same order. Ladies, the best for the last. So let me just, introduce HYSEA, which you see on against my title. It is Hyderabad Software Enterprise Association. Whenever you come to Hyderabad, please see us. And my name is Phani Pattamatta, I'm CEO there. So I just want to take all of us into a time travel. And probably, we slept yesterday night and we woke up today morning. And it was 2022. Imagine that. Okay? So none of us knew ChatGPT is going to come up. None of us knew Gen AI, ready. And what was I as a CEO, as a leader doing then? I was probably, doing my Monday morning calls like a know-it-all, asking questions and why the tasks were not completed, etc., right? So that's what, as a leader, I've been trained to do, because somebody taught me how to do this task, ask, all my life, at least the professional life. Then 6 months later, or, whenever the ChatGPT was introduced and, people started prompting, asking questions, and 6 months into 2023, or end of 23, I realized that I should stop asking questions and allow my team, my directs, to keep asking me questions. Because, relentless questioning is a curious mind and everybody has it. The days that I was asking questions, I was only getting answers, but work still didn't progress completely. So we stepped back, all the leaders, we said, let's create a Ask Me Anything CEO, Ask Me Anything COO, at least once in a fortnight, and allow your teams to ask you those questions, because we are all learning. So from the know-it-alls, Ganga, I think, we started practicing the learn-it-alls, started learning, and then through these questions, things started forming much better in the last 1.5 years. I think, at least as leaders, we feel that we've been better as human beings. Back to you.
Thank you. Anu, 15 years in the same company. What are you doing?
Phani, no pressure. Yeah, so I think on any podium, it's very difficult for me not to have a reference to my organization, Sony. So I'd probably kind of refer to an instance back in 1979 when Sony launched its first Walkman. It was definitely not an obvious success, because back then, having a portable media player with no recording functionality, there was a lot of criticism that was happening. But one thing that we still, get reminded is that the leaders back then could reimagine the way people experience music, right? And that was feasible because they understood technology back then. But beyond technology, there was one more important aspect that they understood, which was the human behavior. So human behavior, the need for people to have a very immersive personal experience across wherever they are, personal, professional, whatever they're experiencing, that is pivotal. And that actually brings in the need for an enhanced leadership, mentoring, guidance in the new world, in the context of AI especially, right? AI is extremely powerful, and we've been having multiple sessions on AI from the morning, but I think the success of AI is only when we know how to integrate AI to support human behavior or human emotions. And I think as a technology company focused on entertainment and to connect emotionally to people, my intent, or how I would reimagine, is to see how I can integrate technology closer to human behavior and how I can have that emotional connect. Yes.
I love that we're talking of behaviors, of concepts. Sorry, I interrupted your clapping for her. I love that we're talking about what could be perceived as old-fashioned concepts, right? Relationships, factors that influence behavior. And with that, let me get to the second point that I want to talk about today, and in no particular order, though Phani, you may want to start with this given your interest area. Talent is not just about recruitment, right? The process begins far before that. And similar to what you said in terms of understanding behaviors, understanding psychology, what are we doing to understand the people that we want to bring into our organizations? And forget organizations. As leaders, I think we have a responsibility to the industry. Because what we are doing, irrespective of whether you're in a GCC, in a service partner company, or in an enterprise, the pool of talent we're playing with is really the same. They're moving across, right? And what they learn in one is what they're going to take into another company, and you want to send people away with skills and things that they've learned. So in your experience, and again, it would be great to hear anecdotes, what is it that really motivates people? Is it 10,000 rupees that will make somebody move, or to reject an offer and go somewhere else? What is it that we should be doing to connect well with this audience that is so, so important to all the things that we've been talking about today?
So, today in the workplace, talent has been a hard problem to solve. All of us know it. We've been trying to solve it for like many years, many decades, and always we felt it is somebody else who's not solving my problem. That's where the buck stopped. But today I think there are almost like 4 generations working in the same company, right? So unless the leaders are knowing and understanding the next generations that are coming into their companies, it's very hard to really, see that they value what the work that they're doing and want to stick and retain in the same company for longer. And what I have realized, while people have been asking these questions, and what I learned from the next generations is there are at least the last 2 generations, they value skills over degrees. Okay, so degrees are not really important. What I knew in my generation was you need to get to the Ivy League school, you need to your B school, you flash it on your sleeve, all of those, that we always knew. Today, they don't really value that. And similarly, post-COVID, what I've noticed is flexibility over money, right? So I think people actually want flexibility, the hybrid work and the culture within the organization. If it is allowing them to do that, money is still okay for them. These are the 2 things that I learned, at least in terms of hiring and retention, attraction and retention. Are you speaking about it as leaders, as HR? Are you saying, I value your skills, I value your work-life balance, and therefore, please come into my company? And then you see those people staying with you.
How is it different in Ahmedabad?
I think it's a different ballgame to face the Zoomers or the Gen Zs. What 3 things which I personally feel we lack as leaders at our age and our status is that if you look at Gen Zs, one, they don't follow the bureaucracy. Then they don't follow the structures and don't put them into structure. But they want to talk to anybody and anyone in the organization. They want to be challenged. They want to be valued. The 3 things which defines us and the difference between Gen Z and Zoomers is 3 things. Their ability to take risk is much higher in any kind. The ability to failure, they accept it much easier than us. And that's a true fact, because if somebody says that you don't know and are you willing to take a risk to fail, I would say no, but they do. The third thing is, as leaders, as we mature, we always aim for results. They're looking for processes than results. So, and they want to go through that. So I call it the RFP, more risks, more failures, and more processes than results. And that defines the current generation. And I think if I have to be successful, I need to be open to those and then work with them and then cut the bureaucracy.
Lovely. Do any of you have a story about somebody who failed and how they might have dealt with it?
Maybe I can go actually. So see, we live in an interesting time. We have to hire, retain, manage the millennials as well as the Gen Z. Now that's clear, whoever have made this segmentation, but it's actually reflective in their behavior in your workplace. Now, I think I quite agree with that. A similar feedback, I mean, at a project leader versus an analyst kind of a thing, a similar feedback, the way it was received by a millennial versus the way it was received by Gen Z. Now, the comebacks are significantly different. Like he mentioned, like the Gen Zs are, okay, they are open for feedback, okay, okay, didn't work, tell me what will work for me, I'll repivot myself and do something better. So we have a similar story like when we give this feedback, a kind of a skill set was not working, maybe you're not fitting into the operations kind of a work, you're better suited for, let's say, a marketing kind of a work. A project leader or a millennial will at least take some kind of a beating, or at least take up some kind of a feedback of why is it not working, and try to push hard that no, it's not working, I'll learn, I do something. The Gen Z on the other hand is fairly, I would say, quite open. It's not working, let me repivot. I'll find my own path and do this. I think this nuance is something which the generation is offering actually to us. But at the same time, for us to retain this kind of a talent, I think one thing which is coming out very clear is the openness and the culture. We need to learn ourselves that how do we deal with this kind of situation. It's not that they only have to learn. We as an organization, as leaders, have to learn on that. How do we deal in this kind of situation? And of course, needless to say, retention was a much focused area as compared to hiring, because the moment you lose somebody, it's a fairly long cycle there. Last but not the least, see, I think horses for courses. I think it's very specific individuals. If you just focus on, try to create some kind of a persona, understand the problem, try to address that problem, I think that is working out well. Just have those conversations. At the end of the day, we are humans. Let's not the machine do all the things, but we are human. If we actually connect better with those individuals through the right culture, through the right mechanisms, right processes, I think this problem can be largely addressed on that front.
Okay, so fail fast, learn, unlearn, relearn.
And be human.
Be human, most important, right? What are your organizations doing to mold themselves to this expectation, right? How are we working with people who don't care if they're told that they failed at something, but are willing to, pull up their socks and start again? Any changes in the offing, anything that you've already seen working? I think it would be great for all of us to learn from that. Either one of you can go first.
I know you can go first.
Sure. Just reflecting on what other panel members mentioned, right? There is a clash, or there is a balance, I would say, rather than a clash, happening between the bold young and the, the seniors with more wisdom. And the beauty of the organizations right now who are succeeding is how they are kind of easily integrating, the bold moves with the wisdom of the organization. It's obviously very different how the motivation aspects comes to when we are working with different, generations or the Gen Zs currently. What I have seen is that, good salary definitely helps. There is no, doubt to that. But I think what the current generation at least is looking for is a lot of whys. Why should I do this, or why should I be in this organization? They are looking for a purpose or a sense of fulfillment. I was working a few years back with one of our game testers. As you know, Sony has an extensive PlayStation suite of product, and we have game testing labs. So I was talking to the person, we were talking about tools, etc., and the person was kind of saying that it's beyond the tools, it's beyond, what we are doing, the, system, process, etc., but the actual fact that what I'm delivering here is going to really entertain and create delight to somebody at the end is going to kind of bring in and excitement to them. That's what actually motivates. So most of the time I feel an emotional connect to the work that you do. It's not emotional connect to people, but emotional connect to the work that you do goes a long way in retaining talent, and especially the talent of today. The other aspect that cannot be denied is the growth. And growth for different individuals are different. Growth for me is different from others. I've had a lot of members actually decline probably, moving up the ladder with respect to specific designations because they wanted to move broader, right, with their interest in technologies, their interest in domain. So it's also about understanding, like I said, human behavior, understanding what your employees' aspirations or interests towards growth are and providing those growth opportunities. And I think if it's a combination of this emotional connect that you can enable to the work that they do and provide the necessary growth opportunities for them, I feel that that would be a recipe to retain the talent.
Any formal things that organizations can do to deal with this empowered generation, right? How should structures change?
Absolutely. So one thing that is common to all of us is in the pursuit of the purpose, right? What Anu mentioned is how do we get there? How can each one of us in our role contribute to the broader purpose or bigger purpose of the companies that our executives said? And in the process, how do we grow as professionals? I think that clarity must come as part of the career paths. So organizations where I have seen and also have been working for Philips will provide those growth paths or career paths in which one can contribute to the organization as well as carry him or herself towards the growth opportunities that underlies them. So along this journey, failure is an inevitable aspect. I think all of us have failed and will continue to fail. But the difference that I see with the younger generation, which are mostly making decisions to quit, and that's the reason they are unable to hold the talent, right, is ability to deal with the failures and the lack of clarity. Okay, and that's where money becomes a fancy thing. They go in search of money in terms of switching over the jobs. But if we as leaders are able to craft a clear picture to them on what purpose means to them in the role that they play, is point one. Point two, how do they deal with the failures? That's where the coaching plays an important role. We as leaders with decades of experience have to step up our roles as coaches and build that emotional infrastructure. So today what is happening with younger generation is they're easily tempted by the fancy offers that comes out to play, and also they're afraid of failing as well. So emotional infrastructure will help them in understanding what failures means to them, and failure is a part of the success and what the learnings that they take out from them. And this is very important in the context of data and AI because it's rapidly changing, and how we can embrace these failures is by introducing method like hackathons. It could be tech talks. It could be encouraging team members of all experiences to come out and share their lessons from failure or success stories. If they have done a POC or if they put out a prototype in place, what it means to others and how others can learn from this. So this actually creates a fabric of culture. As Anu said, the cross-functional knowledge has to be laid out as a lattice. So coaching plays a foundation for this lattice where we break down the hierarchies and get both the experienced leaders along with the young leaders or emerging leaders in helping them grow. I think these are the methods in which we can bridge this gap and help retain the talent.
Lovely, thank you so much. And to this question, I want to add my point of view because it's something I feel very, very passionately about, right? So we believe in offering a psychologically safe place to work, psych safety, and that connects with what you're saying about the ability to take failure well, to be able to experiment, to be able to, take risks. But I feel this generation also wants others to demand something from them because they want to give, right? That's where you feel valued. So if you were to juxtapose psych safety with, say, accountability, that's where the picture gets complete, right? I offer high level of safety, you offer back high level of accountability. Because when we challenge people, all of us, right? It's not a generational thing at all, but maybe more so in today's day and age. That's where you reach that, I think the extreme of where everybody's learning, the organization is growing, and people generally feel like they're adding value back.
So quick add-on. So I think, it's all about attracting and retaining talent, and the companies that are actually, beating this game or early signs of, slaying the game of talent attraction and retention seem like AI enabling or, AI augmented workforce, training, continuously, allowing them to learn and then know the newer technologies much faster than the rest of them. So those are the companies which are definitely trying to slay the game there. But otherwise, I think, to attract the Gen Alpha in their own lingo, the boss should have the Riz, the boss has to be a Riz. And the company's culture at a workplace should not be sus, right? So, that's what we need to know. It should not be suspicious of others, right? And there should be a skibbity possibility. Everybody can, start having conversations with the senior most or the junior most, doesn't really matter. So unless we have this risk, sus and skibbity going in the office place, we can't think of attracting that generation here.
Perfect. I can't even repeat those words. I hear it from my son all the time, but I can't. So good for you, Phani. I have one question, even for all of you to think about, right? Introspect. Imagine you're 25 years old today. What would you dare your 25-year-old to do, given everything that's available around us? And while you think about that, that's a question for all of you. What would you do?
See, there's one thing is, what would an employee look for stickiness, right? That's all we are talking about, because the pool is limited, and we all are hunting for the same pool. The stickiness comes from the adaptive leadership. It's not what we are expecting from them, what they are expecting from us also. And are we adapting to the change? And I think three things which define our leadership for us as leaders is, one, are we getting enough trust, transparency and communication? And also, are we willing to change and learn ourselves? So I've done many programs which is reverse mentoring, because they are much tech savvy, they are much ahead of us, and that has really worked well. And I did it in Deloitte, that worked very well in Big Fours. So I think that's the willingness for us to change as well. So we need to be adaptive, we need to be democratic, and the whole hierarchical organization will not work right now. And the ability to connect emotionally, because if you see this, with hybrid, one thing which has come, and we did a survey in last two organizations, the mental health issues. Because sitting in silos, you're sitting and somebody is sulking down, and you don't know what's happening, what is going through the minds. So one thing is that unless you connect emotionally, unless you go and reach out to them and communicate openly and transparently, I think that will create a stickiness in the organization. And there's no uniform policy which applies to all. That's my policy, HR policy, my pay, you may be 88th percentile, 90th percentile, that will not stick. So I think you need to have an adaptive leadership and a different ways to deal with. And both, as a leader, you need to change, and you expect that change to come from them as well.
Absolutely. 25-year-old Vinay.
So learning, I think learning has to be embedded as part of our personality, not just about certification. There is a certification obsession that's going on, which I don't really big fan of. But if we can make learning as part of our culture and make it part of our own personality and as part of our habit, that helps us staying in the game, irrespective of whatever disruptions that have happened, right? Including COVID. We all learned how to switch on our camera and be on part of the virtual meeting. I think that's part of the learning. And second is adaptability. So this has to go hand in hand, and I would take those two.
Thank you. Rajat?
See, I think a lot of these points are covered. See, I think first is actually your change management. We keep saying that, okay, there's a different generations and all, but as an organization, as a leaders, are we willing to change ourselves and take on to the new generation which is coming around that? Second is, I think adaptability is one of the very important factor there. Do you really are rigid with your set of policies, or are you really able to work or make those policies work for the people or the different types of generation or the type of people that are existing there? Those policies are not for the sake of paper, but actually have to deliver something for your employees. So I think these are my 2 bits in the last 30 seconds.
Anu?
Yeah, I think currently if you look at it, a 24-year-old ML engineer has more value in some of our organizations than 40-year-olds who are not having that expertise. So finding what defines value and broadening the perspective, because right now career progressions are not linear. We are looking at broader spectrums, and HR managers can be AI experts. It's about how we kind of cover at a broad segment, because AI has empowered humans. So finding the value and then delivering on that would be something that I would focus.
So with the limited AI and Gen AI that I learned in 2025, so I realized that Gen AI cannot hire a kick-ass engineering team for you, right? So with that limitation of Gen AI, I would have told my 25-year-old self, you shouldn't have stopped coding because you became a manager in a services company, right? I should have continued coding with my hands and not stopped it at that age. So that I need not have to really, bring in people who can code, but not really code a good code, right? So I should have continued coding.
Great. Time to grow young, be young, and yeah, deal with the world in front of us. Thank you. Thank you so much.